Our next topic in animal behavior is about courting and sexual selection. One of the things that's consistently seen in animal species is that during mating behavior, it's a good generalization that males are the ones that court or compete for mates, while females choose and are a little bit picky about with whom they mate. This has led scientists to come up with the brief, flippant phrase, "Sperm are cheap while eggs are expensive." The reason for this is that there is a biological basis in the difference between sperm cells and egg cells. Even in the simplest organisms, like fungi or algae, sperm cells are much smaller and contain only half of the nucleus and half of the nuclear DNA of the offspring, whereas egg cells are much, much larger in comparison and contain not only half of the nucleus and nuclear DNA, but also all of the organelles and all of the cytoplasm and nearly all of the cell membrane that will be comprising the next generation. Because of this, it's actually much more difficult to make an egg cell than it is to make a sperm cell. Not only that, but when we take a look at bird and mammal species, the differences in the sexes becomes even more pronounced. In bird species, females, often but not always, also lay the eggs, care for the eggs, sit on them, protect them, and then of course feed the chicks when they hatch. In mammalian species, it's not uncommon for the female to gestate the growing embryo and fetus, and then once the embryo or fetus is born, the female also cares for, nourishes, and provides breast milk to the baby. This makes, in both bird and mammalian species, females contribute even more substantially to their offspring than the males. It's this difference in time and energy investment between males and females that makes males more likely to compete for mates and females a little bit more choosy. Because while males can generally mate with many females, females have a much longer and stronger time and energy investment in the offspring. One of the substantial examples of this that's been widely studied is that of the bowerbird. The bowerbird is a bird found in Australia and New Guinea, an island in the South Pacific. Bowerbirds, like many birds and mammals, are a polygamous species, where one male may mate with 25 females. Females only mate with one male per mating season. Often, the females will return to the same male every year and mate with that same male as long as that male remains healthy. Males do not play any role in parental care of the hatchlings. Instead, all of the effort in protecting the egg and raising the young go to the females. The females are exclusively responsible for building the nest where the eggs will be laid. What's interesting is that the male bowerbird, instead of making and contributing to building of the nest, is actually involved in building a bower. Bowers are naturally derived structures, not used for laying eggs and not used for living in, but are built by the male bowerbird from naturally existing materials as a simple structure. What are these structures used for, and why do the male bowerbirds build them? It turns out that females are very picky as to what kind of males they choose to mate with. The females first will hear the call of the male bowerbird from far off in the forests. As she approaches, she will approach from high up on a tree and look down at the male bowerbird and his bower, assessing whether or not the bower itself is of fine construction and the materials he has collected to decorate the bower are appealing enough. Male bowerbirds tend to not just decorate their bowers with natural occurring materials these days, but to make their bowers even more appealing and more brightly colored, have started to incorporate lots of artificial ingredients as well, such as bright blue plastic straws, children's toys, and other things. Sometimes this wins over the hearts of the female, and sometimes it does not. But the successful bowerbird ends up mating with dozens of females. When the female bowerbird comes and is attracted to a specific male bowerbird and his bower, she will then hop onto the ground and watch a mating dance that the male bowerbird has for her from inside the bower. This is really the only time that the bower itself is used, is for the male to perform a dance for the female while she's located inside the bower. What is the purpose of all of this? Well, the proximate cause, of course, would just be that the male bowerbird has the ability to build these bowers with his beak and collecting of sticks and straws, and then decorate the bower with materials that he finds. But what is the ultimate cause? Why do male bowerbirds build these bowers? Well, it turns out that bowerbirds, unlike many other types of birds, like the peacock we saw earlier, male bowerbirds are often fairly plain in color. They're not highly decorated, and they don't have a lot of colorful plumage. It turns out that male bird species in general will often communicate their overall health and fitness by having colorful plumage. The prettier the feathers, the healthier that male bowerbird is. But without any colors, how is the male bowerbird able to communicate to the female that he is healthy, disease-free, able to be resourceful and find enough food, and essentially that he has good enough genes for her to use in forming her offspring? Well, instead of having colorful plumage, the male bowerbird has evolved the ability to build a bower and decorate it with many items. This is a fantastic way of communicating to the female that he is resourceful and has good genes. This is the type of sexual selection because the female bowerbird is choosing or selecting the males with whom she will have sex. We can say that this is a general trend, that males compete for females. And one of the things that I'm sure you've heard of before is the exception proves the rule. We're going to watch a little brief video about bowerbirds, linked on this picture at the lower left, and then we'll show you some exceptions that actually prove the rule that sperm are cheap and eggs are expensive, and this is why males compete and females choose.